That year, I took the university entrance exam. My results were exceptionally outstanding, and I got accepted into the same university as Liam, the top scorer. However, my university life was ruined by a single sentence from him. When I was reborn, all I wanted was to give up on those damn top scores. I didn't need them. Once I learned to give up, the world became bright and clear. At the 100-day study rally, as the most improved student in the monthly exam, my homeroom teacher invited me to give a speech. Below me was a dense crowd. Holding the microphone, I felt dizzy. It was the first day of my new life, and I never expected it to be at such a crucial juncture. But this time, I didn't confess my feelings to Liam, nor did I passionately shout about striving for 100 days together to become top scorers. I simply glanced indifferently at the heads below and said, "I have nothing to say. The university entrance exam isn't that important. Even good schools have bad people. Even top students can be trash." Finally, I smiled and said, "Let go, give up on that restrictive definition." After I finished, a commotion erupted below. The homeroom teacher immediately rushed up, snatched the mic from my hand, and angrily scolded, "Anya, are you out of your mind?" I shrugged. The 4 great virtues of our time: great fighter, great flourisher, great breaker, great idler. Behind the homeroom teacher, a pair of cold, disdainful eyes stared at me. It was Liam, the top student in our grade, who was about to give a speech as the student representative. From a top student to a dropout, it only took one blow for me to become like this, and it was all because of him. My secret crush on Liam was almost common knowledge. In my past life, all my efforts were for him. Throughout my senior year, I gritted my teeth, climbing from below the 500th rank in the grade to the top 100, then the top 50, and finally the top 20. My goal was to break into the top 10 to stand side by side with Liam. Hard work pays off. On the day of the university entrance exam, I finally achieved my wish. The results were announced. I ranked 9th school-wide. As I had hoped, Liam, the city's top scorer, and I both got into the same university. Only 2 of us from the entire school were accepted there. My classmates urged me to confess to him, my face flushed with embarrassment, assuming he would surely reject me. But unexpectedly, Liam said something I never anticipated. "Anya, it would be better if you were a bit fairer. I like girlfriends who are fair-skinned." He looked through the online learning camera and said, "You look too dark." I completely ignored the insult in his words, thinking to myself that if I just became fairer, he would accept me. Because of that one sentence, I saved my living expenses to buy all sorts of expensive cosmetics. Then, during the hottest midday hours, I wrapped myself up completely to avoid the sun. Finally, on my way to get food, I suffered heat stroke and fainted. Hot pot sauce splattered all over me, making me utterly messy. When I regained consciousness, there was no one beside me. Opening my phone, I saw that a classmate had taken me to the infirmary and sent a message to Liam, saying I had fainted and needed help, asking if he could come. He was the first person I had pinned on my contact list, but in the chat box, Liam only replied with 2 words: "Too busy." That coldness made me realize he wasn't rejecting me, just not accepting me. I stopped pursuing Liam, but then he changed, texting me 3 times every day, asking how I was. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and replied to his message. He asked me to save him a spot in the library. I knew he only liked the spot by the 2nd-floor window. To make him happy, I set my alarm for 5 a.m. and was the first to arrive at the library. I even chose the seat opposite it. But it wasn't until noon, after eating, that Liam leisurely arrived, accompanied by another girl. By then, there were no empty seats left in the library. I started to feel something was off. Liam just frowned, looked around, and then told me, "Move from this spot." I couldn't believe it. This was the spot I had woken up 2 hours early to save for him, and he just casually told me to give it to someone else. The girl with him smirked, her eyes full of contempt. I forced a smile and ran out of the library without looking back, just to hide my shame. But when I stood crying at the corner of the stairs, Liam chased after me. He pulled my arm, smiled, and said, "Anya, you're so kind. If you keep being this good to me, I'm sure I'll be moved by you." Because of that one sentence, I foolishly continued to run around for him. But I never knew Liam actually liked the class president until the final exams. That's when I realized this was my story, and also the beginning of all my nightmares. During a core subject exam, a rustling sound. The class president, sitting in front of me, flipped her exam paper back, and I suddenly saw a small piece of paper fall from her, rolling right behind my heel. "What's this?" the teacher, hearing the sound, walked suspiciously from the other aisle. In that brief moment, the small paper was kicked right to my foot. Before I could react, the teacher quickly came over, picked it up, his face showing an unprecedented look of disgust. "Is this yours?" I looked at him blankly. "No, it's not mine, teacher." Just then, a voice cut in. "Teacher," I saw it fall from Anya. That voice belonged to Liam, the person I had liked for years. In that moment, I even doubted my own ears. I stared at him. He actually framed me to help the class president. I never expected that my years of sincere affection would only serve as a backdrop for someone else. Tears I couldn't hold back silently fell. I tried to tell the teacher, "Teacher, I truly didn't cheat. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance camera." But unfortunately, due to the camera's angle, it only recorded the paper rolling to my feet. The class president was a beautiful, well-connected, and clever girl, and now she had Liam as a witness. So I was irrevocably accused. My score for this subject was forcibly set to 0. The specialized subject teacher looked at me with contempt and disgust, saying, "This student never register for my class again." The school publicly reprimanded me, even sending a notice that even if I retook the class, I couldn't make up for the damage. Once a model student, Anya was now branded with shame. After offending the class president, my life completely changed. My roommates began openly and secretly ostracizing me. My name, Anya, was associated with negative school events for many years. On the school's confession wall, my name always appeared prominently, accompanied by slanderous remarks. Stealing food, altering grades, all sorts of stains were dumped on me. I never expected such a small incident to escalate like this. Ultimately, even the teachers in charge unilaterally believed I was nothing more than a liar. I was stripped of my right to scholarships and the title of outstanding student. And Liam never contacted me again after that. Was that the male god I had once poured all my effort into matching? Someone who would trample on another's honor to flirt with a girl, who would ruin a person to protect himself. What was there about this person that I should ever like? And this school, a university hailed as one of the nation's top institutions, why were so many people so blind? They were easily swayed by others, easily accused me without proof. I was a human being, flesh and blood. Finally, I couldn't bear the pressure anymore. I submitted a withdrawal form. Sitting in a taxi on the way home, both my body and mind were exhausted. Even when the driver was driving and messing with his phone, I couldn't bother to speak up. But at an intersection, a truck sped towards us. The driver frantically cursed, losing control of the wheel. The car couldn't avoid it and crashed head-on into the truck. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in my senior year of high school. At this moment, my heart was cold. The fiery passion that once burned for Liam was now completely gone. During a small pop quiz, as soon as the papers were handed out, I filled in the answers based on my memory, then slumped onto my desk and fell asleep. The homeroom teacher walked past the window, angrily grabbed my ear. "Anya, what are you doing? You've only improved by 300 ranks and you're already so arrogant? Who do you think you are, Liam? Even the top student in the grade isn't as arrogant as you. Get rid of that attitude, quick." I was numb. Let him say whatever he wanted, I just wanted him to leave quickly. I silently picked up my pen and stared at the exam paper. The homeroom teacher angrily muttered a few more words, then left the window, but didn't go far. He entered the classroom from the front door, leading a tall male student. "This is Ethan, a transfer student from the international class. He'll be studying with you all for a while." The class clapped sparsely. I wasn't interested in the slightest, not even bothering to lift my head. But my desk mate raised her eyebrows, took a sharp breath, and exclaimed, "Anya, look, he's so handsome." That exclamation unexpectedly stirred up memories I thought had faded. In my past life, during senior year, my class also had a transfer student from the international class. He sat in the back row, didn't like talking to anyone, and was the first to leave after school. Before the university entrance exam, he had already gone abroad. Everyone in class rumored that he was a rich kid just here to experience life. Someone like that, of course, had no connection to me. The only time I ever spoke to him was when I was sick and had to go to the infirmary. The math representative forgot to hand out my exam paper. I walked straight up to him and said, "Hi, are you too tired? Let me do your homework for you." At that time, to catch up, I was the unmatched StudyBot representative, not missing a single exam. In this life, there would be no more intersections. 10 minutes before the end of class, the math teacher walked in with his thermos, made a round, and stopped at my desk. He couldn't contain his anger. "Anya, what are you doing? 3 major questions and you haven't done a single one. Seeing my only reaction, the math teacher took a deep breath. You What I apologize, teacher. The math teacher choked for a moment but clearly wasn't willing to let it go. He yelled, "This spotless exam paper, are you giving it to me to wipe my face with? This child," to save the math teacher's breath. I lowered my head and started writing the answers. Back then, to quickly improve my scores, I was the embodiment of the grind strategy. These problems were almost ingrained in my DNA, to the point where I still remembered the answers clearly. The math teacher hadn't even finished scolding when he suddenly stopped. For the first algebra question, it only took me a few seconds to write down the answer, astounding him. I quickly moved on to the second question, then the third. By the time the bell rang, I had just managed to complete the entire exam and hand it in. The math teacher's mouth hung open wide enough to fit a chicken egg. "You've done these problems before?" To some extent, I really have done these problems. But the math teacher spat. "What nonsense are you talking about? These are problems I stayed up several nights to create myself. Where did you do them before, in your dreams?" After the results of the small quiz were announced, Ethan and I were both called into the office. I was called because my score was too high. Although I intended to quietly give up, I unexpectedly ended up first. Oh my classmates started whispering about me again. It's hard to hide being fair-skinned, but no one sees you studying in secret. As for Ethan, he only did the very last question. The math teacher was so angry he slammed his desk. "Do you think this is a vegetable market where you pick and choose which questions to do? Sir, I didn't choose. If I had chosen, I would have done the first question. That one was truly creative." A textbook flew past Ethan's face. He picked it up. Watching their back and forth, I decided not to say anything more to avoid trouble. But the math teacher tapped my exam paper, frowning. "How did you get first place on such a difficult exam? I really don't understand." He mumbled, "Unless you memorized the answers. Otherwise, how could you have finished it so quickly? It's really strange. Did you memorize the answers?" Finally, he slammed his desk and concluded, "You definitely memorized the answers." Seeing his expression, I sighed and agreed, Yes, I really memorized them." I thought I had given him a satisfactory answer, but then he looked at me with disbelief. "Liar, I haven't even released the answers yet. Where did you memorize them?" "Did you somehow know beforehand, like you traveled back in time?" I shrugged. "If you don't believe me, then don't." At this point, he pointed to the last fill-in-the-blank question. "What about this one? You left it blank. What does that mean?" I bowed my head and looked at the question. The blank space was too small, I didn't see it, so I just skipped it. But I really didn't want to explain, only trying to put on an honest face. "Sir, I don't know how to do it." "I don't know how to do it? This question is easier than the big ones later on. Look, just draw an auxiliary line, calculate the area of this part, then subtract this small part. Wouldn't the answer be 1.43? "Sir, it's 1.47. I gritted my teeth, unable to tolerate that 0.04 difference. "Anya," the math teacher slammed his desk so hard I jumped. "Repeat that again, will you?" In the end, Ethan and I were kicked out of the office by the teacher. Outside, I heard a soft laugh. "Oh, serious friend?" Ethan raised an eyebrow and smiled at me. I turned my face away, ignoring him. "Oh, stop it, I'm really useless." But that only made him laugh even harder. "You can't even manage to give up properly. You pretend not to care, but it's also obvious." I didn't know why, but I felt like his gaze on me was very strange, carrying a hint of curious discovery. On the way back to class, he stuck to me like glue, chirping in my ear, "Aren't people your age supposed to like making a splash? Clearly you're a king, yet you pretend to be a commoner." "I don't show my emotions. Aren't you also this age? I don't understand what you're saying." Seeing that Ethan was about to say more, I quickened my pace. But today was truly unlucky. Liam just happened to walk out of the classroom. In the past, I would have happily watched his retreating figure down the hallway. But now, just accidentally breathing the same air as Liam made me feel disgusted. I paused, sidling closer to Ethan to avoid him. My actions were so obvious that Ethan even noticed. "Isn't that your male god? What are you hiding from?" I had no doubt Liam heard that sentence. He stopped and asked, "Anya, was that card in my literature book from you?" "No, it wasn't. But your name was on it. And you still ask," I impatiently retorted and walked away without looking back. Liam went back into the classroom, leaving him standing stunned in the hallway. Ethan watched with a look of amusement, as if he were watching a play. But this time, he didn't return to his seat in the back of the class. Instead, he pulled a chair and sat right next to me. "Hey, serious friend Anya, why did your personality suddenly change?" I frowned but didn't look up. Why was this person so talkative? Didn't you like Liam? I remember you even said you wanted to get into the same university as him. You remember wrong, I cut him off coldly. Now I'm ranked over 200 in the grade and he's first. If I wanted to go to the same school as him, I could only be a security guard there. But I remember your scores were quite good. Ethan's voice trailed off, as if he had just remembered something. He smirked, shrugging comfortably. Well, it seems times have changed. Since the small quiz, the math teacher started observing and scrutinizing me. One time when I went to the office to submit homework, I heard him ask other teachers, "Do you ladies and gentlemen think Anya has suddenly become enlightened?" He even pointed at his computer browser, stating firmly, "Many famous scientists are like that too. Suddenly, one day they become exceptionally intelligent. Could Anya also be chosen by the heavens?" I thought to myself, "Teacher, thank you. You really think too highly of me." To shatter the math teacher's unrealistic expectations, I decided to continue silently giving up. In this life, I just wanted to live lightly, to get into a university that wasn't too stressful. I dreamed of a school with many clubs and activities, eating hot pot with my roommates, not that hellish place where people cheated for high scores and then blamed each other. Therefore, when the math teacher asked me to participate in the math competition, I immediately refused. You have good achievements. You could represent the school in provincial and national competitions. Just as he looked at me, I turned my head 180 degrees. Before, I never got to participate in these competitions. It's all because of that last exam. The math teacher decided to put pressure on me. The class has 3 slots. The first 2 go to the class president and the math committee member. His gaze shifted to me. The third slot is Anya. "Teacher, I really can't. Please leave this opportunity for someone else." Unexpectedly, the math teacher calmly waved his hand. "Don't stress too much. First place will definitely go to Liam. You just need to try for second." The whole class burst into laughter. "Liam, is that amazing?" A teasing voice echoed from behind. Without turning around, I knew who it was. "You just transferred from the international class, so you wouldn't know. Liam always comes in first in any competition," the math teacher explained to Ethan. Ethan laughed exaggeratedly. "First in everything, I suddenly want to see Liam fail." So I no longer refused. "Teacher, I'll participate." The math teacher beamed with joy, then comforted me. "Don't be too stressed, just try your best." "Don't worry, if it's about crushing Liam, I'll definitely try my best." On the day of the exam, Liam's and my student ID numbers were consecutive. I looked at the back of his head with disgust for a few seconds, then pulled my desk back a little. The starting bell rang. I bowed my head and looked at the exam paper. In my past life, I wasn't qualified to receive this set of questions. But back then, I yearned to improve so much that after Liam won first place, I tried every possible way to get all the exam papers. The first time I tried them, I failed miserably, but I wouldn't give up, trying again and again during many self-study periods. Finally, I thoroughly understood the entire paper. I believed that in this exam room, no one was more familiar with this exam than me. About 10 minutes into the exam, there was a loud knock on the door from outside. Some test takers, interrupted, irritably blurted out, "What is it?" The proctor walked out and asked, "What's your name? You're here for the exam." "Why are you so late?" "I'm Ethan from class 13. I got lost, so I'm late." The proctor looked at his watch and then let him pass. "Hurry in, another minute late and you won't be allowed in." "Thank you, sir." Ethan walked in and sat down in the only empty seat in the room. He even raised an eyebrow at me like, "Are you crazy?" It was almost time to submit the papers. I deliberated for a moment and then wrote a fake name, thinking that as long as I surpassed Liam, it would be fine. Best to be someone no one knew, so he would be utterly crushed. At the same time, I also wanted to avoid attracting attention. After that, I submitted my paper. Ethan also came to submit his. The proctor sighed. "Didn't finish, did you? The paper was so long this year and you still dared to come late." Ethan smiled faintly. "You're right, sir. I'll be more careful next time." Leaving the room, he asked me, "Did you finish?" "And you?" I retorted. Don't ask the obvious, it was as easy as a square root. On the day the results were announced, I was submitting my math homework when I overheard 2 teachers discussing. "Liam is in 3rd place, really?" The teacher from class 14, who was also Liam's homeroom teacher, sighed. "The boy probably didn't perform well. But the person in 2nd place is dozens of points ahead of him. This is clearly an ability issue. Which student from which class?" I gently closed the door and left the office, hiding my achievement and talent. As long as Liam wasn't happy, I was happy. Outside the classroom corridor, Ethan leaned against the railing, lightly tapping his finger on it. He looked very relaxed. To be honest, he really was handsome. Why are you looking at me like that? The surrounding gazes were like spotlights shining directly on me. His eyes slowly fell on me. I just wanted to punch Ethan. Who cares to look at you? You've been smiling at me ever since I left the office, and you haven't even finished talking, but more eyes are falling on me? Help me. I hurriedly interrupted Ethan. Don't misunderstand, I'm smiling because I just heard some good news. What good news? Tell me. His face suddenly moved closer to mine. Reflexively, I held my breath. I realized that Ethan was truly someone who enjoyed watching drama and adding fuel to the fire. When it was time for math class, the teacher walked in, his face full of wrinkles but beaming like a sunflower. My desk mate whispered to me, "The teacher's so happy. Give him a pair of wings and he'd fly to the sky." Before I could respond, the teacher cleared his throat twice. "Everyone, quiet now, I have some good news to announce. First and second place in this math competition both belong to our class." The whole class gasped in astonishment. Next to the class president and the math committee member, some people had already started congratulating them. My desk mate patted my shoulder, comforting me. "It's okay. At least you learned more about the competition's questions." I simply gave a faint hem, showing no excitement whatsoever. The math teacher smiled, unable to hide his delight. "Now I will announce the results. First, second place goes to Ethan." The class simultaneously applauded and whispered. "When did he participate?" Teacher explained, "Ethan used his slot from the international class, but now he's a student in our class, so this honor belongs to our entire class." After the class quieted down again, someone began to inquire, "So who's first place?" The math teacher turned to me with deep eyes. "I won't announce the first place winner. But Anya, please come to my office for a moment after class." Oh my God, could it be Anya? She surpassed even Liam? What a miracle. A problematic student indeed. After class, I trailed after the teacher into the office. As I pushed the door open, all the teachers stopped what they were doing and looked at me as if I were an alien. A female teacher walked over, touched my head, and asked, "Anya, have you been feeling anything unusual lately?" The math teacher pulled out a chair for me. "Come here, sit down." He asked seriously, "Were you nervous during the exam?" I shook my head. "No, sir, I wasn't nervous." "Then why did you write your own name incorrectly?" He tapped my forehead. "I even intentionally checked the exam paper. Looking at the handwriting, I immediately knew it was yours. Do you know they almost invalidated your results?" The teacher next to him quickly stepped in to protect me. "Don't tap her head anymore. This head needs insurance." The math teacher laughed heartily, praised me a few more times, and then admonished me, "Next time remember to carefully check your name in class, okay?" Looking at him, his face full of trust, I suddenly felt a little grateful. If it had been any other teacher, they would have suspected me of cheating. Standing next to me, Ethan tried to suppress a laugh. "Teacher, I think Anya wrote her name wrong not because she was nervous, but because she did it on purpose." I turned to look at him. He laughed even harder, gleefully. "Anya, you're really foolish. Everyone else has their scores, only you don't. By process of elimination, everyone knows that exam paper was yours. Someone, please gag him for me." Indeed, I had done a foolish thing. From then on, Ethan was even more convinced that I was deliberately hiding my abilities. He even mimicked my tone. "I'm really foolish, truly foolish." I said irritably, "Even if I'm foolish, I still got first place, okay?" Ethan smiled cunningly. "Actually, I'm very curious. You were ranked 200th in the previous monthly exam, so how did you come in first this time, especially with such a difficult paper? You're a big shot. If I'm second, I could also be first, you know?" He wasn't angry, on the contrary, he was still smiling. All right, I'll figure it out myself then." I glared at him, then remembered something and said, "You're going abroad at the end of this month, right? Hurry up and go." "Won't see you off." Ethan chuckled. "Why are you so unfriendly? That part in the sample essay about being more narrow-minded than one appears, that must be about you, right?" Yes. But just as the words left my mouth, as if someone had awakened a terrifying thought in my mind, my eyes widened and I stammered, "Wait, what did you just say?" At the same time, Ethan's eyes also widened, looking at me. Both of us blurted out, "How did you know I'm going abroad at the end of the month? How did you know this year's essay topic?" In that strangely silent moment, an inconceivable thought slowly formed in my mind. My throat was dry, I wanted to ask but didn't dare. Both of us looked at each other for a long time. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "Anya, did you come back too, just like me? Just like you?" My eyes widened as I looked at him. In the past few days, I had felt some vague emotions along with elusive strange occurrences. Finally, everything became clear. You also came back to life?" I asked incredulously. Ethan nodded. Yeah, me too. You? How did you come back? I couldn't keep calm. I had once thought this was a miracle that only happened to me. It turned out there was someone else who also shared this secret. Ethan adapted much faster than me, as if he had anticipated everything. I was in a car accident. Was yours also a car accident? I asked, astonished. Ethan explained that day he had rented a truck to move house, but for some reason, he suddenly got the urge to try sitting in the truck to experience the feeling. The result was that his truck collided with a taxi at an intersection. I suddenly understood something. I was the one in that taxi. Everything finally became clear. Ethan shrugged. No wonder you've been acting so strangely since the 100-day study rally. I couldn't blame him for feeling that this life, Ethan was inexplicably concerned about me. It turned out there was a reason. He suddenly thought of something and asked, Hey, that day was a Wednesday, so why weren't you at school? Why were you in a taxi? Where were you going? His question was like a splash of cold water. The joy of finding a kindred spirit immediately vanished without a trace. I had applied for a leave of absence. I was planning to go home. My mood suddenly sank. Noticing that something was wrong, Ethan asked, Why did you suddenly take leave when everything was fine? The grievances I had suppressed for so long finally had someone to share them with. Do you really want to hear? I asked. If you're willing to tell. We sat down by the sports field. The long-buried emotions in my heart surged intensely again. If I had to find a listener in this world, perhaps only Ethan was suitable, even though half an hour earlier I wanted to sew his mouth shut. I took a deep breath, trying to recount those painful memories for the first time. As I tore open the scabbed wound, Ethan's expression gradually grew heavier. No wonder you said those things at the 100-day study rally. I looked at him. Normally, he always had a smile on his face, the type of person who was smug, arrogant, and carefree, but now he looked unusually serious, completely different from before. Ethan reached out to give me a piece of paper, but fumbled and couldn't find anything. Finally, he awkwardly asked, Do you want a hug? I didn't answer, but Ethan automatically wrapped his arms around me. One arm held me, the other gently patted the top of my head as if comforting a child. It's okay. Everything's over now. Don't be afraid. His comforting words made memories that seemed to be dormant suddenly awaken. I buried my face in his shoulder. The more I tried to hold back tears, the more fiercely they flowed. But the fatigue and resentment in my heart under his silent tolerance gradually subsided. I clutched the corner of Ethan's shirt. Clearly, yesterday I still thought he was a nuisance, yet now I felt an unprecedented sense of peace. No arguments, no chaos, no resistance. Finally, I said, So I don't want to try anymore. Even if I try, the results won't be good. After I finished telling my story, Ethan was silent for a moment, then smiled. Anya, I just want you to understand, don't punish yourself for the mistakes of others. Before, you tried for him. Now you're giving up also because of him. Isn't that still nothing changed? You have to see yourself clearly. Ethan's words were like a powerful punch to my heart. I didn't refute him, only voiced the fear in my heart. I'm afraid of being ostracized and alienated again like before. I'm afraid that even jumping into the yellow river won't wash it clean. I'm afraid my efforts will be wasted. I just want to live a normal life. Ethan seemed to have read my thoughts. I know what you're worried about, don't worry. From now on, I'll protect you. No one can bully you anymore. I was stunned. Whether it was in my past life or this life, this was the first time someone had said such words to me. I rarely felt embarrassed, but this time I confusedly turned my face away. Who needs your protection? All right, Ethan laughed. Anya is the best. Anya doesn't need to be brave. Anya isn't afraid of difficulties. Before I could get angry and hit him, a voice suddenly rang out from behind. What class are you two in, sitting here doing? Don't you know that puppy love will get your parents called? I turned around and immediately saw the stern face of the disciplinary teacher standing behind us, looking at us angrily. I was so scared I jumped up immediately. Ethan's reaction was even faster. He grabbed my hand and we ran for our lives. The teacher was wearing high heels. How could she catch up to us? She just yelled, You two kids, stop for me. But she was soon left far behind. As I ran, I realized something was wrong. We didn't do anything. Why are we running? Running like this will only make people misunderstand. The wind ruffled Ethan's hair. The sunlight in his eyes sparkled like stars. He laughed heartily. Isn't this just a natural reaction? The wind carried warmth and a light grassy scent, gently wrapping around us like a soft kiss. In that moment, I felt that I had truly found my youth again. I clenched my hand into a fist and said to Ethan, You're right. I shouldn't punish myself with other people's prejudices. I should follow my heart. I want to bring Liam down. He owes me. I'll make him pay back everything. The competition rankings were announced in 3 days, but the announcement for first place only mentioned the class. Since I participated alongside the class president and the math committee member, and neither of them received a certificate, everyone implicitly understood that I was the first place winner. However, everyone found it strange. Could someone who was only average in the class in the previous exam truly surpass Liam to take first place? Faced with these speculations, I didn't rush to respond. But Liam couldn't sit still. He submitted a request to re-examine the test papers, not his own, but mine and Ethan's. What's your intention here? Do you not trust the fairness of the exam? The homeroom teacher's voice was full of displeasure. Liam froze for a moment, then quickly explained, "Of course, I trust the school. It's just that I can't believe 2 people who have never been in the top 10 school-wide could surpass me in this exam." The homeroom teacher, of course, also had some doubts, but he called our class's math teacher to jointly check the papers and review the surveillance camera footage. The results confirmed that Ethan and I had indeed completed our exams ourselves. Liam still wanted to see the exam papers, but the homeroom teacher stopped him, telling him to go back. Don't use malicious thoughts to casually doubt others. Whether the first place goes to you or Anya, it brings glory to the school. If you fall short, what you need to do is to reflect on yourself, not blame others. You must understand this clearly. Then, he turned to Ethan and me. You too see. If you don't make it into the top 10 in the next monthly exam, it will be hard to convince everyone. Liam walked to the door but suddenly turned back and said, I also agree that the strong should know how to make others submit. If Anya and Ethan are improving so quickly, why not let them take the next monthly exam in a separate room? What do you mean? The homeroom teacher asked. That way, it will eliminate all distracting factors and prove to everyone that their achievements are truly based on their own ability. It sounded proper, but in fact, every word Liam spoke was filled with sarcasm. He definitely believed we cheated. He thought we had done something to get high scores. He wanted to make us lose face. I wouldn't let him have his way. Before the homeroom teacher could reply, I quickly interjected, flashing a smile. I think Liam's suggestion is excellent, teacher. Can I request to take the exam alone in a room? The homeroom teacher's mouth dropped open wide enough to fit a chicken egg. Are you serious? Seeing my expression wasn't a joke, he also became serious. All right, let's decide that then. As I left the office and walked past Liam, I clearly saw the unconcealed smugness on his face. After walking a bit, Ethan grumbled with dissatisfaction. What kind of taste did you have before? To like such a petty man, you might as well like me. Before he could finish, I pouted. Yeah, my eyes were blind back then. So, in the next monthly exam, are you going to bring him down? Didn't you say last time that you wouldn't pay attention to him and let him stay in the #1 spot forever? I replied indifferently. That's right. Let him keep the #1 spot. Ethan was silent for a moment, then suddenly smiled. So, what rank do you want me to be? I glared at him. According to your ability. Ethan didn't say anything more, but his eyes curved even more. All right, you said it. On the day of the monthly exam, the news that I would be taking the test alone in a room had spread throughout the school. Even though I was placed on the highest floor in the most secluded corner of the classroom block, curious students still climbed up to peek. The proctors were 2 unfamiliar faces. As soon as they entered, they burst out laughing. It's true, you're the only one here. You really are getting the top-tier treatment. Each of them pulled a chair, one sitting in front, one behind. In the room, there were also 2 cameras rotating 360 degrees around me. I knew that at this very moment, someone was surely glued to a screen, watching my every move. But after everything I had been through, my mental fortitude was far stronger than an average person's. I calmly completed all the questions, even greeting the proctors when I left the exam room. When the results were announced, our math teacher was grinning so widely his eyes were nearly invisible. First and second place this time both belonged to our class, with almost 50 points more than the third-place student. The entire class gasped. 50 points? Liam, who used to be first, only beat the second-place student by just over 10 points. Who is this person who's so good? The math teacher, still smiling, said, Why don't you all learn to be a little calmer and more composed like me? After saying that, he called Ethan and me to the board. First place goes to Anya, 5 points ahead of Ethan. Let's congratulate her, everyone. Everyone knew that in my exam environment, there could be no cheating whatsoever. Liam had intended to corner me, but unexpectedly, he became the one who paved the way for me. My achievement was open and honest, completely clean. Ethan's performance this time had a slight issue. By convention, the monthly exam papers are not released, but because he submitted his early, the math teacher was still curious and personally went to the academic affairs office to retrieve his paper for inspection. After reviewing it, he turned back, pointed at a photo of the exam paper, and asked, "Why did you leave one question blank? Didn't you know how to do it?" Ethan laughed and replied, "Didn't know how to do it. This question is so difficult. Besides Anya, who could do it?" When the math teacher left, I turned to Ethan and asked, "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" Ethan dropped his playful smile, looking straight into my eyes, and said, "I just thought it would be more fun for you to crush Liam by yourself." Seeing his serious expression, I turned my head away without saying anything. It seemed like that was the only way to hide my sudden embarrassment. That afternoon, during the monthly exam summary meeting, Ethan and I were invited to the conference room and sat in the front row as instructed by the homeroom teacher. Very soon after, Liam also arrived. He glanced around the room, then sat down directly beside me. "Congratulations, Anya." "Thanks," I replied coldly. Liam winced. Lately, every time he tried to approach me, he was met with rejection. Did he remember how I used to chase after him? The atmosphere became awkward, but Liam still tried to strike up a conversation. "Your performance has improved remarkably lately. Do you have any study tips you could share?" "Of course," I said, looking straight into his eyes, which held a falsely gentle gleam. "The secret is to talk less." "Haha, I didn't expect you to be funny too." Liam forced a laugh, trying to find a way out of this awkward situation, but I wouldn't let him have his way, continuing to stare at him until he became flustered. "There's no secret. I've just been lucky lately. Didn't you once suspect me of using tricks to surpass you?" Liam's face paled, flustered. "That was a misunderstanding." I smirked coldly. "Who has a misunderstanding with you? You're the loser." Watching Liam's stunned expression, I felt as if I could hear the sound of his self-esteem shattering. In that moment, I felt like my soul was being healed. On Monday morning, at the flag-raising ceremony, I officially replaced Liam's position. Many still remembered my words from the 100-day study rally: let go of restrictions and prejudices. The sunlight was too bright. I squinted. This was the first time I stood here as the first-place winner of the monthly exam. I remembered what Ethan had said this morning: "Trash only belongs underfoot. Don't let it sway you." Don't be afraid of clouds obscuring your vision, just standing at the peak is enough. I looked down and saw the math teacher beaming with proud satisfaction. Ethan subtly waved at me. I saw my desk mate giving me a thumbs up. And I also saw Liam, his face pale, standing among the crowd. A mix of complex emotions surged within me. Since my rebirth, this was the first time I realized that before, I had always been constrained by Liam. Now, truly looking down at him, I realized he wasn't worthy of my comparison. He wasn't even worthy of standing on the same level as me. I folded the prepared speech, bowed to everyone. "Good morning. Today I am honored to speak as the student representative. I wonder if you still remember the last time I stood here, I was only ranked over 200. So, someone asked. So, I want to say, no one is number one forever. Standing here doesn't mean I'm better than everyone else." The homeroom teacher nodded, pleased. "Humility is a necessary quality for a leader." But I changed my tone. "But I still want to say that I am definitely better than the previous first-place student. With me here, from now until the university entrance exam, he will never return to that position again." The entire school ground seemed to have been muted. A few seconds later, applause and cheers erupted like waves. I bowed in thanks and walked down. The math teacher pulled me aside. "You're crazy. Do you know what you just said? What if you can't maintain your rank next time?" "Don't worry, teacher," I replied. "From now on, I will always be first." Liam looked at me, his eyes red with burning resentment. I smiled back. I thought Liam would stay away from me from now on, causing less trouble. But no, he became even more brazen. At noon, when everyone was resting in class, he walked straight to my desk. "Anya, I don't know why you're so hostile towards me, but I accept your challenge. This is the card you gave me before. Now I'm returning it to you." My midday nap was interrupted. My mind was still hazy, but I saw the item in his hand. I took it and threw it straight into the trash can. "A piece of trash. Why did you keep it?" I knew Liam's intentions clearly. He wanted to use this to humiliate me again, to tell everyone that he had once rejected me, and that now I was challenging him out of unrequited love turned hatred. but I no longer felt anything for him, only the joy of seeing him defeated. Liam lost his last card. His face turned red, then white. After a long moment, he choked out a single sentence. "How did you become like this?" "Become like what?" I scoffed. "Become sober, become rational, and become intelligent." "What exactly did I do to you that you hate me so much?" Liam was so angry his whole face trembled. "Do you think I'm wrong?" I didn't bother to look at him again. Some people play a role for so long that they start to believe it themselves. "What kind of person you are, you know best yourself. From now on, outside of exam rooms, I don't want to see you again." From then on, for every exam, I kept my word. As long as I participated, first place was certainly mine. Each time, Ethan would chuckle and applaud me. "Our little serious one can't be outsmarted again, oh my." But whenever I suspiciously asked him, "Did you intentionally let me win?" Ethan would immediately pretend to be greatly devastated. "Oh my goodness, you're still asking that? Are you trying to humiliate people like this?" It made me unable to press further. Occasionally, I would still encounter Liam. I didn't know if it was because Ethan and I had repeatedly defeated him, but he had completely lost his former arrogant demeanor. Even his familiar, gentle smile couldn't be faked anymore. One time after school, as I was walking out of the school gate, I heard a middle-aged woman loudly scolding him. "Not first again this time. Are you even studying properly, huh?" Liam tilted his head, saw me, and quickly urged the woman to leave. But she grew even angrier. Push what, push what? Are you ashamed? We'll talk more when we get home." "Home? Do you even have the face to go home? What am I supposed to tell the neighbors? You've completely disgraced me." As she spoke, she angrily delivered a harsh slap across Liam's face. Smack! The crisp sound echoed right at the school gate, drawing everyone's attention. 5 red fingerprints clearly marked his face. Finally, Liam couldn't take it anymore and exploded right in the middle of the crowd. "Not being first means not studying seriously. No wonder Dad cheated and wants to divorce you. Have you ever cared about my life? The only thing you care about is that ranking. Let me tell you, if I don't get first place in the university entrance exam, don't ever call me your son again." After saying that, he forcefully swung his backpack and stormed off into the distance, leaving only the woman, panting with anger, standing rooted to the spot. Watching their chaotic scene, I felt no ripple of emotion in my heart. Ethan, standing beside me, asked, "Are you happy?" "Of course I'm happy. The most important thing in life is to be happy, right?" I turned and smiled at him. In truth, from the moment I defeated him, I no longer cared about him. But he just said for the university entrance exam, he definitely has to be first. I smirked. "All right, just you wait and see." Since I was no longer influenced by Liam, I started discovering the joy of learning. There are some walls that, once broken, make everything easier. Before, I achieved 9th place school-wide by grinding myself to exhaustion. Now, I only needed to study casually to still be first, far surpassing the 2nd place student by dozens of points. This was no longer just about effort. It had become something irreplaceable. Thank you, Ethan. I'm truly different from before. In Ethan's light-reflecting eyes, I saw my own small, radiant, sparkling reflection. I didn't know if the glow was from his eyes or my own. The university entrance exam quickly arrived. The day before the results were announced, Ethan asked me what university I wanted to choose. I told him, I want to go to the South. Hearing that, Ethan looked up at the sky with a thoughtful expression. When the results were announced, the entire school buzzed with excitement. My phone rang nonstop. I thought I was certainly the top scorer until Ethan ran over breathlessly. "Anya, it's not good. The scores are out. Liam got exactly the same as you, 693? I frowned. "No way. This year's exam was much harder than last year's. In my past life, his score was only about 30 points above the admission cutoff for prestigious universities, which would be around 660. Could he have changed in this life too?" In the homeroom teacher's office, Liam and I sat next to each other. The teacher rubbed his hands, saying, "This time our school will definitely retain the top scorer title. You two are truly exceptional." Liam's chest rose and fell, clearly very nervous. His voice was even slightly stuttering. "Sir, this is a given, of course." I looked straight into his face. This expression wasn't like him at all. If he had truly achieved that score through his own ability, he would certainly be gleefully proud. I immediately texted Ethan. Liam's score might be problematic. The top scorer hadn't been officially announced, but many reporters had already appeared at the school. "They say both of you got the exact same score. How coincidental. Please share your study tips." The reporters made Liam excited. He eloquently shared his study methods, finally emphasizing, "This is what true ability looks like." After listening, I suddenly thought of a way to verify my suspicion. In my past life, in my eagerness to catch up to Liam, I had secretly picked up his rough work. The last question in his math exam back then, he had gotten wrong. When the reporter's microphone turned towards me, I turned to Liam instead. "Liam, your study method is really effective. I should learn more from you." Liam nodded smugly, specifically looking at me with eyes that seemed to say, "Anya, I told you you couldn't beat me." Then I continued to ask another question, and Liam's expression visibly changed. "Liam, the last question in the math exam is known as the most difficult question in recent years. May I ask what answer you wrote?" The reporter's camera flashes continuously flickered. Indeed, a top scorer interview, yet they still don't forget to discuss problems. But at this moment, sweat was pouring down Liam's forehead. He couldn't utter a word. If he answered this question incorrectly, his score was definitely fake. In the crowd, a phone was held high. Unlike the professional cameras of the reporters, that person was live streaming, and it was none other than Ethan. Besides that math question, I also asked another physics question. These were two questions Liam had answered incorrectly, and both were major sections that would cause significant point loss. As a result, Liam's stuttering inability to answer the questions was live-streamed onto social media. In just a moment, netizens discovered the problem. If both these questions are wrong, then the top scorer's single subject score doesn't seem right, does it? Haha, what an obvious fraud. The hashtag quickly climbed to the top of trending searches. Ethan called me. "Anya, I've investigated. Liam copied your exam paper." "Copied my paper? How do you know?" He admitted it himself. "Let me send you a picture." Ethan sent me a photo. In the picture, Liam was sitting on the ground, his forehead bleeding. However, the university entrance exam's top scorer had already been recognized as soon as the results were announced. The school didn't want to escalate the situation, as it was an embarrassing incident. When Liam's previous exam scores were leaked online, netizens didn't further investigate the accuracy of his university entrance exam score either. Whether it was 660 or 690, those were still extremely high numbers. Now, the only person who could affect this matter was me. As long as I overlooked it, Liam wouldn't face repercussions. Just as I expected, he started calling me continuously. In my past life, I never imagined that my male god would humble himself and beg me like a desperate cling. I told the school, "If you don't revoke his score, I will pursue this to the very end." The next day, when I stepped out to find Ethan, as soon as I opened the door, I saw two people kneeling in front of my house. Looking closely, it was Liam and his mother. The woman looked like she had aged 10 years overnight, her hair already gray. I wondered if she regretted having pushed her son so hard. Liam choked out, "Anya, please forgive me, you know my true ability." "If that's the case, why didn't you rely on your ability and instead resorted to such dirty tricks?" I replied coldly. "You truly live up to your name, Liam. A crude and brazen straight line. It was like that in my past life, and it's like that in this life too." Finally, I just said one sentence: "I will absolutely not forgive you." Liam cried and begged from behind, "Anya, didn't you not care about these things? I didn't affect your score." I turned my head and looked at the person kneeling before me with disdain. "You have harmed the fairness and justice for tens of thousands of students." After saying that, I turned my back and walked away without looking back. The university entrance exam results were finally settled. I became the sole top scorer of that year. With my speech at the 100-day study rally, I reluctantly earned another nickname: the laid-back top scorer. As for Liam, who had been highly anticipated by all the teachers, his exam results were revoked, and he was banned from taking exams for 5 years. Looking at his miserable retreating figure, I sent a message: "Before learning knowledge, learn to be a person first." Then I immediately blocked his number. I never saw him again. He couldn't get into the university I had chosen. My phone was flooded with congratulatory messages. My parents were excited, preparing a celebration. All my relatives gathered, saying I had brought honor to the family. They talked about taking me to school for enrollment. I sat silently for a moment, then put down my chopsticks and gently said, "Mom and Dad, I've decided not to go to the university I once dreamed of anymore. I won't be happy there." My parents were silent. Mom came over and hugged me, her voice worried. "What's wrong? If you don't want to change to another school, that's fine too, as long as you're happy." My dad also nodded. My eyes welled up slightly, and I softly replied, "Yes, Mom." She hugged me tighter, patting my back. That hug seemed to give me a powerful push, moving me out of the past and into the present. I chose a university in the South. On enrollment day, a hand rested on my shoulder. "Hey, look who it is, the laid-back top scorer again." I turned around to see Ethan. "Aren't you going to study abroad? That was last time, not this time, I guess. You really have no equal when it comes to talking big." We both laughed and walked together through the university gates.